How's the pie?
So good.
Stop it, Gavv! You're giving me too much! Just when I thought the train couldn't possibly still be riding high. Episode 5 was no slouch either, further expanding on the backstory, but also fleshing out Shoma, as he is starting to find doubt in his heroics, but discovering purpose in his being. And you know, I tried looking at this show from a critical lens, as I do everything that I review. But I am honestly shocked that this is still hitting as good as it has been. And I found myself freeze framing and even rewinding at parts during my first watch. But before going too deep into my thoughts, what exactly happened this week? Shoma gets woken up by some naked Granute just exposing himself. But he ain't finna take this lying down and prepares to throw down. But as it turns out, this is the guy who modded Shoma. Modded Shoma? What? Well, turns out this was at the request of Bosch, who is Shoma's dad. Yo, we really getting the dad this early? For real, facing everything. Goddamn. Gotchard, look at y'all just out here just fucking up. And this guy is Dente, who is Shoma's dad's uncle. So, his great uncle, or grand uncle, it's kind of the same thing. While at it, Shitter and Jeep also enlighten us that he's not only the one to come up with the human spicing machine, but the one that taught Nirib everything he knows. So, while in this scene, Rango shows up trying to lay down that boot that if the two don't get their shit together, well, he's gonna have to make some cutbacks. Because, as it turns out, he's got big plans in store for these treats. As they're setting up a stage to make it big time, but currently, these treats are only being sold black market, with broke clientele, and they need to nab themselves some upper class folks, even if everything they're doing is illegal by Granute standards. So, with the rules set, Shitter and Jeep, splooge out some agent! Whoa. What? That's gross, man. Either way, mark that as something answered. Because of his lack of popping out Kenzoku, they decided to operate on him just to get things poppin'. But they believed that the operation was a dud, all because his dad wanted him to live a life of strength. But even Dente was feeling bad about the result, going to the human world just to do research on humans, but becoming enamored with their own tasty treats. But Shoma ain't buying anything regarding his daddy being nice. He was beating up on his mom right in front of him. And his mom hated him too. At least that's what he thinks. But you know, he couldn't exactly be father of the year. Because if they got too happy, then that just made them tasty delicious. Just like these flaming hot chips, Dente is rocking! But Shoma still ain't buying it and dips. Granute of the Week is fresh out that Diddy party to deliver the goods in exchange for one tasty treat. But he's saving that for a rainy day. Can't blow 1,000 baby oil bottles at one time. You gotta savor it. That is, until one of Nirib's agents offers up a deal. Meanwhile, Hanto ditches his boss's stakeout to go on some masked rider hunting, as a Gochizo's been spotted. So, he catches up to the little guy just to bear witness to the gathering of glass. You think Hanto's just gonna let something he's mildly informed of get away with what he thinks they may logically be doing? Maybe. But that's when he pulls out the rock! Oh yeah, no, I'm not trying to get claimed by the WWE. Though those agents may manage to claim Hanto's hiding spot, but let's backtrack a bit. Shoma's still on that mom sob story, remembering the bad times of him being stuck in the King Oger set. That is, until daddy showed up to buff up that son, but mom's not gonna be about him, so he busts that lip.
Shut up, bitch! Wow.
All that is enough for Shoma to remember that his dad's not a good guy, but that could never be him, as there's a kid who dropped one of Jeremy's peeps down into the gutter. But moms ain't strong enough to get it. So here's Shoma to contemplate whether making this child happy is really worth it. Because if he does, then the child could just become bait. So he's got a choice to make. Either make the kid happy and potentially make him fall victim to the Granute, or leave him sad so he wouldn't be risked. And he chooses happiness, my man! Because look, if they become targets, then it's his goal to protect the happiness of others. But he's got to make that Tum Tum happy and remembers that Unc did give him them spicy chips, which gives him the mud guards. Who's that Cochizo? You know, you're probably gonna show me something that's not heaty chips, so just go ahead. It's...
Oh my god. Oh my god. Someone save him. Oh my god. Oh, yeah! Yeah!
Well then, Shoma gets word of Hanto's rock throwing, so he goes to throw hands himself. Luckily, Hanto's passed out when he arrives. So he slick dodges the blast just to Henshin. Bro, why are you doing this? Like, you show up with the glow up, and now, like, you haven't even died one bit. Again, look, I don't know who you're talking about. I am Ninja Kiva. The fuck? Then where's Storm Kiva? Listen, I'm sure you're probably confused by the entire matter, but I am one of Nintendo Soji's ninjas. Nintendo ninjas, if you would. So, look, I just managed to buy myself some tenure, so that's why I'm just here doing what I'm doing. Oh, you're the one that he said he was calling. Got it. See? Now you get it. Just like how these agents are about to get those hands. Just in time for Hanto to wake up and try to catch that stash while Gavv gets blasted and pulls out a Pringles can. But you know what? I'm more of a Lay's Stacks kind of guy myself. Because when the chips keep breaking, Heaty shows up to bring us that flaming hot goodness. Brought to you by this week's Snack of the Week. Flaming Hot Lay's Stacks. Superior spice, superior crunch. Wait, no, Google's gonna generate an ad here. What? Oh, I guess I am personally unaffected by that. And you know what else ain't affected? These swords. They could have at least changed the colors, but nah. Flame on, I guess. Burning with the red-hot intensity of 1,000 suns, Gavv lays the heat to an ashy crisp. Projectile flame cage on one agent and exhaust explosion on the other. But the first one does manage to get away, so Gavv goes back to base, which means, oh god, this kill count though. One agent and 2 gummies, 1 chip, and 2 hitties, giving us 5 Gachizos. Great, because now Hanto's being caught with his hands on the glass, about to make a huge mistake when Gavv shows up to show him how it's done. Because if you force the thing to break off, then you kind of end the person. And all these freed people now panic at the sight of Gummy Monster Man. But Hanto assures them that he is no monster, reaffirming both of their beliefs. So Hanto gives that payment to Sachika right as Shoma shows up to crash on a bed for once. All this while Hanto's mentor gets a mean licking. Rating time! This show is indeed still riding high. We are here 5 episodes in and there's still no major flaws. Sure, we have shoddy green screenery in the backstory aspects, but the moment that cemented this episode for me was really Shoma deciding whether or not he was gonna help out that kid. Though it was a very short instance, it sold the conflict resolution in him. Mix that with more backstory, and actual daddy time? And Honto's actions? Y'all, this is getting another stomach ass! So I know filming this on a Saturday, mere hours before the episode is about to drop, might lead to a lot of these theories aging like milk very fast. But there's still so much that we have here. First of all is the introduction to Dente, who not only is a skilled scientist, but the one that taught Nirum everything that he knows, which is a potential plant for future shenanigans between the two. What I do like about the introduction of Dente is that he appears to be genuinely caring for Shoma, and he might be the only one left in the family that actually does, and it's probably due to his relationship with his dad. Which is something else we have here, is that the dad appeared to be looking into the best possible outcome for Shoma, which is why he had Dente modify his existing Gavv to be what it is currently. Of course, since we've got no tasty treats over in Granute World, Shoma couldn't possibly pop out any Kenzoku. Now from Shoma's perspective, he never saw any of the niceness from his dad, which is why he's reluctant to take Dente at his word. And in my conversations with folks over the past week, the big comparison that we have is to My Hero Academia's Endeavor, meaning that's the kind of aspect that we're seeing from Bosch. Since we do have the aspect of him wanting to train Shoma to be strong against the will of his mom. But once again, since we know that there is a bit of a nice guy hidden behind that mask, it's possible to see how he shacked up with Shoma's mom to begin with. But obviously, they didn't want to sweeten them by making them happy. We actually do just end up getting a lot when it comes to Granutes in general, because we find out that the Stomach family are pretty much drug dealers, since it appears that they have an actual snack stalls and stuff for sales that apparently are tasty, but they also deal in the dark treats on the side per special request. But right now, only lowlives are trying to get the treats, and technically human harvesting is illegal, which would get them in trouble with their government. Yes, the Granute government! We world building here! Rango has an obsession to be able to get top folks to consume the treats, which, is it strictly just for profit or something more? See, this is where I start to speculate on the Kenzoku of it all. Since we see the members of the Stomach family being able to produce their agents, though we don't know exactly how, but we haven't seen any of the other Granutes pop out their own minions. Especially since all we see them consume are those dark treats. So, would that imply that a side effect to the snacks is the nullification of minion production? I mean, if dark treats are being treated as a drug, it's gotta have some sort of side effects, right? That would give sound reason to why Rango wants the higher class of folks to get on the stuff, and why they themselves haven't been shown consuming it. Because if those in power lose their natural power, that will allow them to just walk on in. And if that's the case, boy, are we cooking! Previously, I also noticed that the classification of people do have different colors, and here we have an expansion on that some more, by not only showing us more colors to the glass, but that it does seem to be a hierarchy in terms of what's premium and what's just okay. So whether they go based off of a natural emotional spectrum or different tiers of happiness isn't directly implied, but I'm going to go on a limb and say that it's probably just emotions, with happiness being the tastiest of the bunch. Given that they have harvested humans just outright, because remember Shoma's mom in the flashback before, and then Honto's mentor in this episode, it seems that the process takes longer when you're aware of it being happening. And in the case of Shoma's mom, we do see that she turns into the darker burgundy level of glass, which, if we are to take a look at that briefcase, might imply that it is on the lesser of the spectrum when it comes to tastiness of spice levels. Now, another thing that was brought up, and I'm starting to really notice, is the human disguise mechanism. Since, if you didn't notice, this week we did get Sheeta and Jeep's Gavv, and the transformation buckle was inside of it. Dente also has this in his naked form, while the Granutes of the week have it literally attached to the inside of their lower lips on their Gavv. Which does make me wonder if the Granute are modified to be able to blend in with human society, which is how they adopt their workers. We do know that Dente modified Shoma's Gavv, and his knowledge is now Nidam's. So he's likely the one that has been modifying the Granoots. But then there's the aspect of their human faces. Could it be that the pressed humans get their likeness stolen as well? Because that would allow for a more seamless integration into society. And seriously, if this show is really going to be going that deep with it, then this is just going to be a top tier show for a while. Or at least until the halfway point when Toei decides to change the show tonally based off of the audience reception in Japan, because that seems to be a very real thing going on right now, is that some parents are not enjoying the tone of the show, and we might see the ramifications for it more closer to the episode 30s mark than anything, so be aware. But yeah, let me get back to this because I've pretty much spent too much time speculating on the Granoot talk focus, but here's some other positives when it comes to this episode. Hanto. Here is a guy who is a sleuth and is getting the details before passing judgment. Literally, starting off with a drawing he made as a child to finding out about the Granoots and having first-hand witness of what Gavv's done. Then, all this to deduce that he's not a bad guy. Even Sachika's reaction to Shoma's return is just so human, and that's what I like about these two. Actually, look, the casts in general are written like people, and not just some checkboxes or a single-minded non-individual, which is the kind of shit I can appreciate from a narrative perspective. These folks just feel real. Also, I like that although we got a Granoot this week, his episode isn't until later. They really just used him to drive a future narrative forward, as Nidam is really just scheming, and I'm looking forward to see what his plans are when we get to the next episode. But I really don't want to dwell too much on some of these theories because, like I said, I am recording this on Saturday and trying to get it out on the same Saturday. But I will say this. Y'all notice how Shoma's hoodie has been changing colors, but now they've been matching the colors of the classified people spectrum. He had blue, he had red, he had yellow. Makes me wonder if it's a mood hoodie, and that's how Bosch was able to instantly tell how they were feeling. But yes, those are my thoughts. What are yours? What did you think about the 5th episode of Kamen Rider Gavv? The Suga dissection of the Gochizos, Hanto set up for the next episode, and y'all think that guy's dead? Anyway, that's it for me, and I know this will likely go up after the Raws for Gavv 6 are actually out, so please avoid spoiling that episode in the comments, not just for myself, but for others as well. But on that note, I'm out of here. Until next time, bye.